What's up, guys? It's Lord Both here for another video, and apparently, Ubisoft somehow wandered their way into a win. And how they did that is by actually doing the thing they seem to never be able to do, which is cancel a bad idea. Because this comes to us from Discussing Film on Twitter X, and it states, Ubisoft canceled an Assassin's Creed game set in post-Civil War era. It featured a black assassin who was a former slave. Player would fight against the emerging KKK. Leadership canceled it after concerns with US political climate and the Yasuke backlash. And as you can imagine, this news brought out all the most interesting people to complain and cry racism. First, there's the always enigmatic Mighty Keef, who said, "This actually sounds like an incredible idea. Shame on Ubisoft for caving if this story is true. Decisions like this never make any sense, cause the audience you're trying to appease are never going to buy your games anyway. So all you did was alienate people who were. Simply scale the game back in production, sell it for $50 and boom. You don't need to sell 3 million plus copies to make a profit." Several things to unpack there. First off, I would agree with him. This actually does sound like kind of a cool idea. If the game was being made in, say, like 2012, 2013, but as of right now, this Ubisoft could not do the intelligent enough and nuanced enough writing to pull off this kind of game, especially in this kind of political climate, and off the back of the controversy of the fake samurai Yasuke. Secondly, the second part here, decisions like this never make any sense because the audience you're trying to appease are never going to buy your game anyway, yada yada yada. He says that, but apparently you do need those people because in the very next breath he says you have to scale back production and sell the game for $50 so you don't have to sell as many copies to actually make a profit. So if you want to make a game at the scale and at the quality of the modern Assassin's Creed games, which by the way, Mighty Keef thinks is really, really good because he threw a lot of praise on Assassin's Creed Shadows, then you are gonna need those people that you say you don't need and are never gonna buy the game to buy the game. By the way, if Yasuke, the fake black samurai, wasn't included in the game or was just a side character in the game, and they just gave us a normal male Japanese samurai protagonist, my guess is that Assassin's Creed Shadows would have sold a lot better. And I say better because if this proves anything, this whole story, them backing out because of Yasuke as one of the main reasons and the political reasons as well, if this proves anything, it's that Assassin's Creed Shadows didn't sell well. Because if it did sell well, they would have leaned into this kind of thing. They would have doubled down on racially divisive stories or making up complete stories that didn't exist based on the thinnest academically disproven evidence ever manifested. But guess what? They didn't. You also have this post from Joraptor. "It sucks that developers can't freely explore their creative vision and make a game in their preferred setting anymore. But after the shitstorm, manufactured hate, and even death threats the Shadows devs received, it would be insane to send them into another nightmare just 2 years later. Sad it has come to this." First off, A, yes, it was a shitstorm. B, it was one that they created. C, it wasn't manufactured hate. It was real hate based upon something that was historically inaccurate and was obviously a DEI story that was made to be wedged into the plot that didn't need to be there, purely to service modern political ideology, the ideology of the devs and gaming journalists only, by the way. And as far as death threats, where are the death threats? That's the thing. All these people always come out and they say, oh, we get death threats about stuff, but they never show any proof. They just go online on their keyboards and say, I was attacked. And also that part about developers can't freely explore their creative vision. Well, there are a lot of factors that hinder that, not just political ones or cultural ones, which, by the way, Y'all remember that there was a DLC for Assassin's Creed Black Flag in which the first mate of the Jackdaw, I think his name was Adewale, he was the main character of that DLC. Everybody seemed like they were pretty cool with it. And guess what? He was a former slave. And part of the missions you could do with him is to free other slaves. Maybe it's the fact that the political climate actually changed and one political party in the United States decided to completely demonize the other political party over a decade, and well, we'll get into that in just a few minutes. Because first we gotta get to the guys who are the everything new in the gaming space is good and cool, and anybody who doesn't like the cool new games are just haters. Those guys, you know, the ones that always take whatever the popular opinion is of the moment, even if that's criticizing things. And then they come on like, oh, everybody calls us a shill. We're not shills. Look, we criticize Borderlands 4. Yeah, that's because everybody was criticizing Borderlands 4, you fucking ignoramuses. Anyway, those are the kinds of guys I'm talking about here. Guys like Rhino, who states here, weird how Red Dead Redemption 2 had this in 2018, while an Assassin's Creed game can't have that in 2025, even though it's very much the core philosophy of the creed to fight against oppression. Western society is going backwards. First off, we're going to pause any kind of actual argument about what he said and focus on the fact that this guy put emojis that don't make any fucking sense in this statement. Like, why the fuck does this guy have a rocket ship at the end of this sentence and then a microphone with music coming off it? What is he doing? I'm trying to wrap my head on what the thought process was here. Like, did he just open up the emoji keyboard and just press whatever two emojis he had at the top? Did he bring up Grok and was like, hey, at Grok, add emojis to this post? And it just chose these randomly? It doesn't make any sense, man. Anyway, getting to the actual, point of what he said. First off, yes, Red Dead Redemption 2 did have it where you could have conflicts with the KKK. But also, the KKK was not the main bad guys of Red Dead Redemption 2 and was not a major focal point of the game. In this Assassin's Creed game, they would have been. They also didn't have any overarching political point or messaging to them like they probably would have in this Assassin's Creed game. So let's not act like they were just going to be some small groups of bad guys that you sometimes run into. No, these are not comparable things here. And finally, I would also mention that Rhino is British. Dude, your people are getting arrested for posting memes. Maybe, just maybe, if you want to focus on fighting oppression, you should, I don't know, turn to your own legal system. And of course, we have the primo tardo synth potato. Mr. Every new game is cool and you should like it, and if you don't, you're a hater himself, who states, we could have had Django Unchained inspired Assassin's Creed, and we lost it for literally no reason. No. They gave a reason. It was there. We all read it. It's just that some people either don't like the reason or just don't want to actually accept the reason. It's just that some people don't either like the reason or understand the reason. Because this is the real reason the game was canceled. The backlash with Yasuke and playing with real figures from history and uplifting them to points that did not exist left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, especially when such very, very thin lines of actual history were being used to uplift them to certain points that had been academically discredited many times over, which led to an inflammation of the culture war within the bounds of the game, which ultimately led to bad press for Ubisoft and for the game itself, which again, if the game had been popular and actually successful, they wouldn't have cared and they'd still be leaning into this and they still wouldn't have canceled the game. But guess what? They did, which tells me the game wasn't successful. Secondly, to the political climate issue, yes, people like Synth Potato and Rhino can't seem to understand this. And you know they don't understand this because they come out and they say things like, oh, I don't understand why people don't want to buy Ghosts of Yotai, which is a really good game. because they don't agree with the devs who made it and their political opinions. No, it's not that people don't want to buy it because they don't agree with the devs' political opinions. It's they don't want to buy it because they don't agree with the devs' opinions that people who don't believe the same things that they do politically should be assassinated. Because that's what one of the devs did. She retweeted tweets celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. She was celebrating political assassination. And other devs, senior devs at Sucker Punch, were liking it. And while she may be fired, they are still there. So yeah, some people don't want to buy that game because they don't want to support people who think political assassination is at least acceptable. And why do they think it's acceptable? Because one political party has been calling the other political party in the United States racist, Yazis, and fascists for nigh on a decade, which are, of course, all vile, evil things that are associated with the vile, evil association known as the KKK. So calling people those things associates those people with the KKK, and calling certain political parties and people who hold conservative beliefs and belong to things like the Republican Party, those things is equivalent to calling them, again, the KKK. If not outright, at some point, people on the political left calling them members of the KKK. And by doing so, they equate the assassination of people of those beliefs as morally good, if not necessary. And that is a horrific idea that these gaming developers seem to be okay with. And Ubisoft, weirdly enough, looked at the political climate and realized, oh wow, one political party in the United States has done so much name calling that is associated with the KKK to the other political party, to the point where that other political party is starting to have members of it, shot. So maybe, just maybe, we should back off those kinds of storylines. And we shouldn't do this game, at least in this kind of iteration with these kinds of enemies. It's not a hard, thorough line to follow. You just gotta connect a couple dots. But all these guys that I just mentioned here and showed here, they don't get that. The good thing, though, is that Ubisoft does, and it seems like a lot of gaming studios are starting to get that as well. And maybe, just maybe, we can go back to making games that were not apolitical, but at least not as heavy-handed with agenda messaging, especially that's one-sided. And we can just get back to better narrative storytelling, because that's what I want out of my video games. But hey, those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go and leave them in the comments. If you liked this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.